President Obama delivered what should be his final remarks of 2014 a few hours ago. The president then took questions from the press. He only took 8 questions, and all 8 were from print reporters. Some say the president ignored television reporters because he didn't want the more severe pushback his comments may create, especially just before jetting off to a 15-day Hawaiian extravaganza. The topics were North Korea hacking Sony, the normalization of relations with Cuba, the Keystone Pipeline, and race in America, a couple others. Critics wonder why the president didn't address ISIS or Russia or the massacre of school children in Pakistan. We got a lot of sound bites to get to, so let's start with this first one, the president talking about North Korean government hacking Sony Pictures.
Sony's a corporation. It suffered significant damage. There were threats against its employees. I am sympathetic to the concerns that they faced. Having said all that, yes, I think they made a mistake. I wish they'd spoken to me first. I would have told them, do not get into a pattern in which you're intimidated by these kinds of criminal attacks.
And as for the U.S. response to North Korea's hack?
They caused a lot of damage. And we will respond. We will respond proportionally, and we'll respond in a place and time and manner that we choose. It's not something that I will announce here today at a press conference.
So, Greg, Sony made a mistake, huh?
Well, I guess Sony did, but so did I think the theaters. But here, this thing about him only calling on women today, I figured out this theory because it's December 19th, which is the day that Bill Clinton was impeached, who also had a habit of calling on women. So I think it was kind of a subtle tribute to the man with his pants down.
Pick that up, huh?
Yeah, and by the way, most of America would not care about this story if the movie was Love Actually. This is about...
I like that movie.
That was a jab at Dana.
I know.
I believe that the president has been so consumed lecturing the world on climate change that he misses certain real concrete hazards that are out there right now, whether it's China, Russia, North Korea, or Iran. And in this case, whenever he condemns carbon, North Korea smiles because it's like, here you have the president of the United States, watering his plants while we're setting your house on fire. He's got to learn to prioritize. I mean, he's now saying this is the threat, but this should have been a threat all along.
KG, President Obama and Hillary Clinton, they both blamed the filmmaker. Remember that?
Remember that? Yeah.
And yet this is the same guy who now says Sony made a mistake by making a decision not to air the film.
Yeah.
Hypocrite?
Yes. I mean, it's pretty obvious when you compare the two. The juxtaposition is alarming, right? I mean, what's the difference for them? Right? One was a politically convenient truth and one was inconvenient. So here I think he's saying something that I think is right, that we shouldn't be intimidated, but it's a day late and a dollar short. Why didn't he talk about this earlier? Why didn't he contact them? I don't know. Somebody from his office should have talked to them about it, especially because this is a cyber crime. This is terrorism. They should have been in direct contact with the U.S. government, meaning Sony, to talk about this and what steps to take, because the Federal Bureau of Investigations was on top of it and was getting all the information, so the White House had it. Why wasn't there a coordination?
Dana, and late this afternoon, I heard Shep report that the Wall Street Journal was reporting that the White House was going to put North Korea on their terrorism watch list.
It was on the terrorism watch list, or it was on the state sponsor of terrorism list. I think it was on before it came off, and then they're thinking about coming back on. I mean, I don't think that Kim Jong-un really cares. I am curious about the president's decision to attack a U.S. company in a press conference. I think that his instincts on that were wrong because a couple things. You have to assume that the Sony executives had information that we don't have. And it's not just, I can't imagine it's just about their emails because that's already out there. It's embarrassing and probably can't get much worse. But they're making decisions as a company based on things that their lawyers are telling them. They're trying to make sure that the government is informed about the actual hacking and the criminal act. If I were Sony, I might ask the U.S. government, why weren't you there to protect us from a nation state, a sworn enemy of the United States, from attacking us? Mm-hmm. And I think that Michael Linton, the CEO of Sony, I got to work with him at the Broadcasting Board of Governors. He's an extremely thoughtful and smart guy. He asks great questions. And today when he did an interview, even after the president attacked Sony in that way publicly in front of the world, they were still classy and did not strike back, but eventually they might.
Well, how about this?
They may
I
have
got a
other
great
information
idea.
from the FBI,
If I were Sony right now, really, President Obama, we made a mistake. I'll tell you what, we're going to release it at the request, at the bequest, the behest of President Obama. What do you think of that?
Well, first of all, the thing that amazes me...
Then they hang it on him, off themselves, right?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess.
Wake up here, Beckham.
No, I'm funny awake. You're scaring me.
He finds you startling.
The thing that I find amazing is that anybody believes North Korea could do this without China, number one, and that he wouldn't raise anything about China because nobody is, because everybody's a wuss when it comes to doing that. The other thing is, what are you going to do to North Korea? In fact, I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to hack into their prison system? I mean, the other thing I found interesting was, I hate to say this, but I will have to, that his line, we will do this at our choosing, at our place, at our choice, or something. I found very much of another administration saying that line.
Okay, let's move on to this. The other big story of the week was the move towards normalizing U.S. relations with Cuba. President Obama was asked what this means for his future dealings with the communist nation.
We're not at a stage here where me visiting Cuba or President Castro coming to the United States is in the cards. I don't know how this relationship will develop over the next several years. I'm a fairly young man, so I imagine that at some point in my life I will have the opportunity to visit Cuba and enjoy interacting with the Cuban people.
Oh, Dana, a lot of people are speculating.
If you're the Castro regime and you run the media in Cuba, what you do is you take that soundbite that says, "I'm a young man and I'm looking forward to going to Cuba."
It's like,
and it's going to be great. And they're like,
yeah.
"Yes, we are so awesome here in Cuba."
Yeah.
Because the Castro regime basically won. I think in the long run, history will probably look back and say that this was a good decision and at the right time. I just think that it probably could have been explained a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, you get the feeling that fresh cigars trump, cop killers who are currently sunning in Havana. Like there wasn't enough thought going into the past, and there's also the sense that all the bad stuff that happened, it's a long time ago. Can we just all get together, sing Gloria Estefan songs in a bed of plantains? But it's not.
Fun.
But it's not just we've had our differences. This is Cuba is a Marxist death yard that has actively predicted our demise, and if we had a president who could negotiate some concessions, I'd be okay with this. But he couldn't negotiate a hat off a mannequin, and that's what worries me. Is like, what are we giving away here?
Now, he did mention, though, that he was looking to get 53 people who are being harbored in Cuba back. Can he do it?
Well, he's got to say that, right? Because otherwise it looks really bad. So you can say that you're doing it the famous efforting.
Maybe he watched Greg's monologue.
That's what it was.
I hope
it all
so.
ties back
He
to
did
the
call me
guy
last
with
night.
the unicorn mug.
You were busy.
Yeah, but I'm sure he's looking forward to going to Cuba. But it's like a commercial for Cuba, right? Like when the NFL quarterbacks, where you go, oh, I'm going to Disneyland. It's going to be President Barack Obama. I'm a young guy. I'm going to Cuba. I mean, it is. It's perfect propaganda for them. And it sort of just washes away all the human rights violations, injustices from this regime.
He had the perfect advance team. When Beyonce and Jay-Z went there,
Beyond. Yeah.
it was like, hey, Mr. President, you got to go here too.
We'll get you in on this one before.
A couple of things I'd say is, first of all, I was in the White House during the Muriel boat lift when Castro.
God, you are so old.
You really are.
I'm old. I was there.
I think you're too old for me. I decided.
I
probably am.
55.
No, I was there during Lincoln's second inaugural. But during the Muriel boat lift, they put everybody, all their nut cases and all their criminals, they put them on boats and dumped them and actually cost Bill Clinton his governorship in Arkansas because of that, because part of them went to camp. But in any event, the other thing is that let's keep in mind these negotiations are ongoing. I do think he will get people released. And the last thing is, Congress does still have the power of the purse. They can build an embassy or not build an embassy if they decide to.
You know what would be an amazing move on Cuba if President Obama were to get an embassy established, if he could get that through the Congress, if he were to intimate or say that he would name Ileana Ros-Lehtinen to be the ambassador, the first ambassador, that would sail through. And she would get our people back.
Good idea.
I got two more to get to.
her.
Let's do this one. Incoming Majority Leader Senator Mitch McConnell has said the Keystone Pipeline will be at the top of the GOP's agenda when they take control of the Senate in January. But that doesn't mean President Obama will cooperate. Listen as he takes a dig at the pending project that could be a boon for America and American workers.
I've just tried to give this perspective because I think that there's been this tendency to really hype this thing as some magic formula and to what ails the U.S. economy, and it's hard to see on paper where exactly they're getting that information from.
We'll do this one very quickly, quick around the horn. Greg, you want to start it this one?
I don't understand this bizarre obsession. We have 2.5 million miles of pipeline. The Democrats, for some reason, suffer from pipeline-ophobia. The pipelines are the unsung heroes. They're the underground gods that take care of all of our crap, literally, and water, sewer, natural gas, jet fuel, crude oil, all underneath our streets, going through our cities, our towns, our deserts, and our forests. What would you rather have? Trains? The potential for train accidents carrying these things is far worse than what would happen with a pipeline. We have 2.5 million miles of pipeline. Why is this an issue now?
What a common sense approach.
Thank you. I'll be leaving now.
He also somehow said, threw this in here at the very end of his Keystone little answer, said, by the way, Keystone won't have any effect on gas prices.
Yeah, I mean,
now,
where's he getting that from?
Did he not take Economics 101? Did he
Somebody ripped about
get
6 pages out of the manual because it seems he just missed the boat. I mean, I guess he doesn't watch your show.
The fact is that gas prices are plummeting. So the pressure is off on this a little bit. But I will guarantee you, if they pass a bill and it has the Keystone Pipeline in it, he will sign it.
You'll sign it after hearing what he said. A lot of people heard the exact opposite
that's
of that.
Fine. I think
a lot of people heard they'll get a bill on.
What do
you think, Dana?
What do you think?
I would have, before the election, I would have said Bob was right, and I actually said Keystone is probably the one thing that they'll be able to work together on.
That's what we thought.
Doesn't sound like it.
I think he doesn't give a rat's you know what.
Shush.
He doesn't care.
What do you mean by you know what?
Wait, his arrest paw?
Put on beeper.
You know what? He doesn't care.
She didn't say sex when she first started. She said S-E-X.
Then she met you.
Let's get this one.
I think
2014 was an explosive year for race in America, with the Michael Brown and Eric Garner cases dominating the headlines. In response to the last question of his year-end conference, President Obama commented on the relationship between the African-American community and police.
Like the rest of America, black America in the aggregate is better off now than it was when I came into office. How we're thinking about race relations right now has been colored by Ferguson, the Garner case in New York, a growing awareness in the broader population of what I think many communities of color have understood for some time, and that is that there are specific instances, at least, where law enforcement doesn't feel as if it's being applied in a colorblind fashion.
Bob, with all that's going on, race is better today than when he took office, according to President Obama. Do you agree?
Race, yeah, I agree with it. But beyond that, I think trying to focus on cops murdering blacks is the wrong way to go. What he said here, and I think he's right, is that in the black community, they get stopped more by cops in their cars. They get frisked more. They get followed more. There is an undercurrent.
Now or 6 years ago?
From the beginning. I mean,
let's focus on what he just said.
I think it's probably a little bit less than there was, but still, I'm not. 99% of cops are fine. They're not. I don't believe there's many racist cops in America, but I do think that you can't just paint this over and say it's all fine.
Okay, so there's 1% bad that's like pulling the black people.
No, but there's a lot of people that that get stopped by cops that you just have to. They are profiled. Let's be honest about it.
Well, I mean, where are you getting that?
A lot of it is mistaken as profiling because there are police officers working hard in those communities to protect the law-abiding citizens in that community from the lawbreakers. So it just stands to reason they would frisk more minorities in a minority area. However, I have no qualm with what he said. I thought what he said was sensible and it was sober, and I think I thought it was fine.
Yeah. Dan, I think so too. I could maybe just make a comment about overall, so this being the last press conference of the 6th year. So now he goes into the next 2 years. He can try to control events as much as possible, and he's done a pretty good job of it since the election, right? However, none of that is actually going to stick because it hasn't gone through Congress. He faces a very different situation in January with a new Congress with a lot more Republicans on not just on the Senate side, but that will be the biggest difference, but on the House side as well. And what will happen pretty quickly here is reporters are going to start looking past him to see who's behind, and they're going to start covering the campaign, and that will become front page news for the next 2 years, as it should.
Just one very quick question. I don't know why he did not raise ISIS. ISIS just took the biggest hit they've had. They've lost a lot of people in the last week, and nobody said anything.
So ISIS, Russia, and kids killed. Very quickly, Dana, prediction next year when you have a Republican House and Senate, does his demeanor change at the podium?
No. I think that I think we have seen the President Obama that we're going to see. I don't think we'll necessarily see him. I think that he can be very charming behind the scenes. There's something, though, when he gets to the podium that he feels like he's still campaigning, and he really doesn't have to do that anymore. He won re-election.
You watch. They'll get deals. They'll get deals.